let me pivot a bit. Now you mentioned one of my favorite rappers, man, Nas. And you know, he's evolved to becoming my favorite because I ain't gonna lie to you, when he first came out, I was like, what the fuck is this nigga talking about? Because it was a little beyond. Nas was so much more advanced. In Chicago, man, we was like, I mean, it's a gangster city, it's a tough city.
It is.
Not saying that Nas is not. I'm not trying to say that, but Nas was just kicking so much knowledge, and I was like, what the fuck is he talking? But I went back and listened to that fucking Illmatic. For that dude to be 20 years old, man, where is he what kind of rap planet is he fucking from?
Yeah, man.
Question to you about Nas.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Now, we have the debate. You see, and this is what makes me so mad. I have heard this man get on people's tracks and just shit on them.
Yeah.
That damn song he did with Mobb Deep, It's Mine. Man, Halle Berry blowing kisses at a Barbra Streisand concert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah.
He did a song called Ghetto Dreams with Common. And hey, Common, shout out to Common from Chicago. Common is the best he could. But Nas just got crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, my question is this. The ongoing debate with Nas, when I say he's my number one, yeah, but I don't like his beats. You heard when he got with fucking Hit Boy.
Yeah, man.
What do you think? Would there be any question if Nas had better beats early in his career? What's your take on that?
Well, here's the thing, right? And this is the thing that people don't understand. And I hope to cover this probably sometime next year when we get to anniversaries for I Am and Nostradamus, right? And for those of us who were out and around outside, I was deep into the internet during that time. When the original I Am came out, it was supposed to be a double disc. I Am, the autobiography. And what happens is the album gets leaked. And this is the early days of the internet. People start leaking stuff on these websites. And because of that, the label decided to scrap most of the project. That's why you get on I Am, you had some things, Nostradamus, you had some songs on there that really didn't seem like they fit. When you look at what is rumored to be the final track list of what I Am, the autobiography double disc would have been, that would have come out in, I think, the spring or summer of 1998.
Damn, another 98 banger?
I mean, at that point, I think it would have been like, after 3 albums, we would have been in a discussion like, yo, all right, forget talking about this dude being amongst Big and amongst Jay and amongst DMX. He's amongst the originators of where all this lyrical shit came from. Do we talk about people who are lyrical beasts? I always say there's 4 on Mount Rushmore that you look at of real lyrical beasts.
Who you got?
Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, and Kool G Rap. Right?
Gotta go with Kool G Rap. Thank you for throwing Kool G Rap in there. Go ahead.
If you talk any one of these guys, you consider to be lyrical beasts. I'm talking about everybody from Tupac to Raekwon to Biggie to Jay-Z to Nas to AZ. Any one of these guys you think about that were like lyrically proficient, you could trace any one of their styles back to those 4, right? Because they were like the ones who took lyrics and made lyricism an art. Especially Rakim, though. Shout out to Rakim, who's still doing this thing now. You know, well into his 50s. But when Nas came out with I Am, and then the album had to be scrapped, and then they made I Am a album, then they gave Nostradamus later on that year, and they had to go with different production on the album. That's really where a lot of the production talk really started. A little bit of it started during It Was Written, because mind you, look at how Illmatic was produced by, right? Beats. DJ Premier, Large Professor, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, LES, all produced on that album. We will talk about some of the greatest hip-hop beat makers and producers of all time for your debut album. You can't get any better than that. So when they went from that to Rashad Smith to the Live Squad to Trackmasters to Havoc, then it was a little bit of a departure for some people because they was expecting those same type of beats. But the persona had changed with Nas as a rapper and an artist. So the beats couldn't be the same. You know, they couldn't have been the same. But I mean, Primo did stuff on It Was Written, by the way. And so but once that disc came out and you saw some of the songs, and by the way, I think I Am is definitely an underrated album, and I think that there are some tracks on there, some of Nas's best. Same thing with Nostradamus. You have a few tracks on there, some of the things that you pull from Nas's catalog and be like, damn,
that was a banger.
Some of this stuff though was just kind of like, man,
they threw that shit on there.
Beats, man, what the fuck is this shit, right? So then he ends up with that. Then, you know, the QB's Finest album comes out. Then it's the whole thing with Bravehearts, and then the whole thing with him and Jay starts, right? And then all this talk starts about him and his albums being subpar ever since Illmatic. Because I don't know if you remember, people big up It Was Written Now. They were trashing that shit back in the day because it wasn't Illmatic, right?
They wrote it off.
They wrote it off. And so he comes back with Stillmatic. Production is better on Stillmatic. Production is better on Godson, but it's up and down on Street's Disciple. It's improved and a little bit better on Hip Hop Is Dead, but there's a little bit of some low spots there as well.
Yeah.
And afterwards, when you get to Untitled and you know, those type of albums, Life Is Good is another high point, right?
I like Life Is Good.
Life Is Good. Life Is Good. Let me put it this way. Life Is Good to me personally, I think is probably in Nas's top 5 or 6 best albums all time. Like in his catalog, you probably put it in the top 5 or top 6.
That album. That was a good album.
But then you get to something like Nasir, right? Yeah. Where the
anticipation was high. What the fuck was he doing with Kanye?
That was the Kanye album they recorded in Wyoming, man. You know, like Kanye was lunching by that point. You know what I'm saying? And Nas, I don't know what was happening, but the chemistry wasn't there. At that point, people starting to write Nas off. Nas and Hit Boy linked up. And the genius thing that they did is Nas linked up with a new producer that had all the sensibilities of what producers were doing in the modern game and tailored them to what would fit Nas the best. So when you drop that first King's Disease and that comes out, and then you get collaborators on there like Charlie Wilson, you know,
A$AP
Berg, you know, and then you have that, and then and then Dirt, and then you follow it up with King's Disease 2, and you go even further in it to have, you know, collaborations with Eminem and then with Lauryn Hill, you know, and I always tell people, man, EPMD, I always tell people, King's Disease to me is probably the one album in that whole run of King's Disease and Magic that I say is probably the most, I would say the most consistent.
Okay.
And has the highest highs out of most of the albums. Now, King's Disease 3 was incredible. Magic, you had that drop surprisingly on Christmas Eve one year. Like, oh yeah, Christmas came early. You know, it's a surprise album from Nas. Him and Hit drop one. So go through that whole King's Disease and Magic discussion, right? Then take on top of that Nas is still rapping at an elite level. He's still rapping at an elite level, at a level that is better than 99.8% of the rappers out there, if not 100, because he's still rapping. He's still rapping at an elite level over these Hit Boy beats.
Preach.
And the storytelling is there, the bars are there, the punchlines are there, the pacing is there. Like my boy said when he listened to King's Disease 3, he said, "Oh man, Nas done gotten off of his wings and Hennessy diet. His breath control is back. This is back." He was like, "It's incredible." And when I sat there and listened to the album, I could hear what he was talking about. And it's like now you're getting this resurgence of him. Turned 50 this year, bruh. You know, he turned 50 this year. Like, he's putting out albums that we're sitting there and thinking about it, and we're like, start ranking this catalog. You know, I might put King's Disease 3 here. I might Magic is definitely here. Those albums are all, with the exception, I would say, of maybe King's Disease 1 and Magic 2, are all within the top half of his catalog, right? For somebody to be doing that at 50, it's insane. It's insane, right? There's not many rappers that at age 50 are rapping, making new content at a high level like Nas has been. And here's the point. Here's the thing about it, right? Because there's been a lot of debate about this topic, especially with Andre 3000 and him saying that he doesn't feel as though he has anything to rap about, you know, at 48 years old. And that's personally what he's going through. I'm not going to discount that. Hey, if he feels like he don't got nothing to rap about at 48,
then don't do it.
Right, because you know what? The stuff I would say from Drake's perspective as a sidebar, the stuff he probably was rapping about at 48, he was rapping about at 28. You know, I mean, some of that shit, Dre's bars, you go back in some of them bars in the Quemini and ATLians, he was spitting that shit, man. It sounded like some mature shit. But with Nas at age 50 talking about, I mean, listening to stuff and him talking about, you know, reminiscing songs like Car 85 and songs like, you know, Store Run and, you know, and memories, like, you know,
30 for 30, 30 for 30, 30. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I mean, Moments is a song on King's Disease 2 that that resounds with me, man. King's Disease 2 came out 3 weeks before I got married. And that song Moments just sit there, like when he says, you know, like taking your first swim, like still being a virgin, you know.
Yeah.
Like those type of things, like moments you can't relive. Like the first time you're tripping off something that Nas said. I mean, but those type of things are things that I can relate to as a fully grown 41-year-old man, now married, now a father, right?
Wow.
These are things that I can relate to as a almost 3/4 of my life Nas fan, that he's saying things that I relate to now, talking about you know, investments, talking about, you know, hey, and Nobody with Lauren, he says, talking about picking his things up and going to Africa right now, and he's going to go there just to some place to be nobody, you know. And so I get it. The things that he's talking about now, I relate to, because I'm looking back at my life and I'm just like, well, damn, that's the type of shit that I think about, right? So when you're not just rapping at an elite level, but when you're rapping at a level that still makes you relatable to your fan base, like he said on King's Disease 3, he wants to be somebody that has 50-year-old fans, 60-year-old fans, and 16-year-old fans, you know, and he got them. And so to be rapping at an elite level, man, that's the reason why I said, man, when it comes to all time, man,
I got him up there, Cox, because I got him at number 1 for me.
He's in my top 2 and he's not 2. So, and the only reason I put him over my number 1, who has been in my number 1 forever, which is Rakim, the reason why I put him over Rakim now is because he's doing something that Rakim has not done.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's to continue to rap at an advanced age, at an advanced level, and still continuing to be relatable and relevant.